Welcome into Backstretch Banter on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. I'm Chris Childers. We are heading down the home stretch. We have a handful of races left to go. Championships in a few weeks at Phoenix for RFK. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. We're trying to win, but I think a lot of people are like, all right, let's just build some momentum for next season. There's a lot of eyes moving forward. But we'll get into it today. We have an incredible guest. JaQuan Bailey is with us, who is the tire carrier for Chris Buescher for the 17. But this guy's got a great football background, and I cannot wait to pick his brain and to talk about it and the transition from college football into NASCAR into a pit crew. It is not as odd of a thing as you think. It is something that happens a lot. They're recruiting in that world, recruiting in the football world, and we will talk about it in just a little bit with JaQuan. But this weekend, we go to Las Vegas. Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 6 Ford Mustang in the King's Hawaiian car this weekend, which is always cool. And then the 17, JaQuan's going to be carrying the tires for the Castrol Edge in Vegas, which two great wraps under the lights, or not under the lights, but in Las Vegas in the night before. Certainly lots of excitement on the strip leading up to the race. JaQuan is with us. JaQuan Bailey, it's great to see you, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Wonderful.
It has been a interesting year this year. There's no question about that. There's been ups, there's been downs. You're a competitor. You're a football guy. You played at a high level in the Big 12. How would you describe the year for the 17 car at RFK?
A very humbling one, but also, it's kind of I don't know. It's been humbling, but it's always, I guess, when we won in Walker's Glen, that it's been more reassuring. And then now we're just trying to build for the next year, if I'm not speaking out of term. It's been like a roller coaster.
You're definitely not speaking out of turn. I think that's kind of been the message here the last couple of weeks. Look to the future. Watkins Glen was great. And what was weird about Watkins Glen, and I'm sure you felt this, again, you have this incredible football background, and as a competitor that has, played for championships, you get it. But Watkins Glen was kind of bittersweet because that if I just win in Kansas, we're off to the next round. I mean, that would have put us in deeper into the playoff and all the rewards that come with that. So I'm sure there's some woulda, coulda, shoulda. Do you go back as a tire changer when the race is over on Sunday? Is there anything that you think about as you're leaving the track? Is there any regrets? Is there any, I could have done this better? Is there any, I thought I was great in this situation? I mean, what is that like post-race for a pit guy?
It's kind of, it's very different than playing football, to say the least. When you play football, you get about, on defense in the Big 12, you play about 80 to 90 snaps, roughly. And being a pit crew, it's only 4 or 5 stops. So that's 4 or 5 chances. Leaving the track when you could have did better and you didn't do better is one of the toughest pills to swallow, because you only get but so many opportunities to actually make a difference in the race. And when you don't execute to the degree in which you think that you can, it is a very tough pill to swallow. And then when we have our meetings on Tuesday morning, it's like you were kind of stuck with that feeling from Sunday night all the way into Tuesday. And that's when you sit down and you actually have time to actually think about everything that happened, what happened on the track, what happened in the pit stall, and you and your coaches and your crew chief and you all discuss it. Then it kind of clears things up. But that is one of the worst feelings that I've ever had to have, which was this year, Bristol, the second one. I just didn't perform it to the speed in which I knew I was capable of, and it kind of hurted us on pit road, if that makes sense. So
makes perfect sense. It's like anything else. It's like playing baseball. It's like playing football. That's why I asked the question, because, you think about, and I think what you said was interesting, and it reminds me, I think you could tie it into special teams in football.
Yes.
You have a couple of opportunities, and if you don't make the most of them, you're going to be kicking yourself. Like, for example, a kicker. A kicker's going to have 5-6 times to impact a game, right?
Yes, that's yes. A kicker and pitting are the similar jobs. Or I'm sorry, are the same jobs. The kicker only gets three or four kicks a game. If he hits all three of them, but then it comes down to the final one and it's for the tie or it's for the win, and he misses, it's the same as us on a pit row. If we have what we would like to call it one of the money stops, that's when it's really it should be your last stop of the race, and you mess it up, and then the car has to come back down, or we end up running a 10-second stop or anything slower. That is the worst feeling ever. I promise you. Like, I hate it.
I'm sure.
I hate it.
And there's a lot of, I think what's really interesting, and we're talking to JaQuan Bailey here on the show, who is the tire carrier for the 17 for Chris Buescher Ford Mustang, which is going to look sweet this weekend in Vegas. The Castrol Edge. I love that wrap. I do. I just think it's one of the cleaner wraps in all of NASCAR, and it pops on the track, and it's going to look hot this weekend in Las Vegas. It's a perfect car to be driving around there. But that's why I asked you about all of this, because I've watched you play. I've covered you, right? Mm-hmm. I know what you're like as a football player, and I know what kind of program Matt Campbell runs. And I know Iowa State, so I get all that.
Shout out to the boys, man.
Yeah, well, trust me, we're going to talk about it because they're undefeated.
Yes, sir.
They're ranked and looking for a playoff spot, so don't you worry. We'll be talking some – oh, yes. We'll be talking some Cyclones here in a minute. And I actually want to get into the Cyhawk game with you and what that means, because that's got to be one of the cooler rivalries. But that'll come. That'll come. NASCAR, though, specifically now, when you look at the competition aspect of it.
Yes.
Is this world that you're in? You didn't play college football that long ago. It's been within the last half decade.
Yes. Has
this kept you engaged the way that you want to be engaged with the competitive nature of work and life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Excuse my French, but I love this shit. Like, that like, I don't know, like, running a fast stop is like similar to like getting a sack in football, right? Like, as in, like, with every great pass rusher, and I was okay, but every time
JaQuan leads Iowa State in career sacks, by the way, so a little bit better than okay.
But running a fast stop is similar to getting a sack in football, or it's like making a big play in football, right? Mm-hmm. That's like scoring a touchdown. It's like making a big catch. It's like for an offensive lineman pancaking a guy. It's similar to making a big play. So for me, running fast stops is, I think about it all the time, 24/7, and it's like I've kind of had to find a balance now, which on my Saturdays is just for the boys. It's no sense. It's to take the dogs to the park, and then while I'm at the park, I'm out there getting ready for college ball. It's simple as that. And it's like, man, I just love it. So
that's awesome. I hear that from some other guys that have been in your position before, that this is just like, man, I didn't even know that it existed. I didn't know it was an option. And this is great. Like, this is really cool to be able to stay in pro sports and to be able to compete with other guys at a high level. How many others do you know that are around the garage, around the pits on Sunday with other teams? How many ex-football players are there right now in NASCAR on the pits?
There's so many. We could say with the
Anybody you played against back in the day?
A couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to pinpoint who though. I know that there's a lot of Big Ten guys here. I know that the JaQuan on the 5, one of my good friends, Brandon Johnson. He's the JaQuan on the 5. He was a running back at Penn State.
Yeah.
I don't really know his whole story, but I know Saquon Barkley came in, and then that's a So
pretty good.
But
pretty good player.
But then when you look
Saquon.
at, I know, but when you look at Brandon, he's a freak too. I think Brandon's 6'2", 6'3", and he's a freak. So
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, well, good. But then I didn't know how good Brandon was until I think it was last year. That was when I found out that he had won a championship in 2021 or something, if I'm not mistaken, with Kyle Larson. So I know him. I know the JaQuan over here, my teammate Sam. He's a former DN. He had some time with the Seahawks. I know that my JaQuan on my own car, Nick Patterson, he played football, baseball. He's a tremendous athlete. Like, he's crazy, freakish. The guy can do a whole split, which is crazy. And he's 6'3", like 240, 250.
Yeah.
And he can just walk into it. I'm like, okay. I know that a lot of guys over there at Trackhouse play in the league. I think their front changer, if I'm not mistaken, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos. I think
so there's a lot. Like, there's a bunch of football.
Yeah,
which it makes sense. I mean, you need big, strong dudes.
Yes, because I joke around with the Fueler on the 24, about Clemson with him and his favorite coach in the whole wide world, Dabo, and then we be, I have to throw a couple, jokes at him, but
I love that.
Yes, but
I do love Dabo, by the way. If Dabo's listening, he's my guy, but yeah, I love that.
I'm a Matt Campbell guy. He's the best coach in college football by far.
Matt Campbell is amazing.
Yes.
And he is somebody that I've gotten to know over the years, and he's done a wonderful job going back to Toledo. He stayed at Iowa State. He's made the big time where he is, and it's pretty big right now.
Yes, sir.
And guys like you, I'm sure I bet Matt Campbell's been quick to give credit to the guys that have laid the foundation there in Ames, Iowa. There's no doubt. Let's take a break. Let's come back. I want to get to your story of how you leave Ames and become a NASCAR tire changer.
By the grace of God.
How does it happen?
How does it
happen? Well, probably a good story behind that, yes?
It's an amazing story.
We'll get into it when we come back. JaQuan Bailey, tire changer for the 17, is with us on Backstretch Banter. We're back here on Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. We are hanging out with JaQuan Bailey. He is the tire changer for the number 17 Ford Mustang. It's going to look sweet this weekend, by the way. We go to Vegas. Castrol Edge is the wrap. It is a great partner, great sponsor, great product. Let's be honest about it. I mean, who doesn't want Castrol Edge in their car? And I'm telling you, the paint with the red and the green looks phenomenal. Flying around the track in Vegas this weekend. It would look even better if it was in Victory Lane. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest with you. But JaQuan Bailey is with us, the tire changer for the 17. I got to know, man. I mean, you played at Iowa State. You were a great pass rusher. You lead Iowa State all time in sacks. Great TFL guy. Get in the backfield, mess things up, get after the quarterback and the opposing running back. How the hell did you get here? How do you go from Ames, Iowa, playing football, and I think you had a little dalliance with the pros in the NFL and the spring leagues. How did you end up with Roush Fenway Kozlowski Racing, sir?
By the grace of God. But it was a very crazy story. So when I decided to leave Iowa State, I knew I had 1 year of eligibility still. but I chose
Sure.
to go pro because I had played since a freshman. I broke all of the records. I was a AP All-American. It was kind of like one of those TV shows that it was a perfect ending, but then they come back for another whole season when they should have just killed it and just ended it. So I didn't want to necessarily come back and then I wasn't as successful or I had a down year or I even had another injury because the previous year I had came off of 2 stress fractures within a 6-month span. So I was just kind of over college ball. I was there hearing about the NIL deal because of my coaches and everybody was trying to sell most of the seniors to come back just for that, and then to also have another chance to play for another Big 12 title. Looking back, do I regret it? Absolutely not, because then I wouldn't be here at this wonderful company. But the way that I ended up in NASCAR was the simple fact of I had played in the USFL and now which is the UFL, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Playing for the Michigan Panthers with Coach Fish. Shout out to Coach Fish.
Yeah.
And now that my position coach Drake. But I first heard about the NASCAR pit crewman because of my twin brother. I have an identical brother, Joshua, who's also a pit crewman. He had got in contact with this guy that we call the godfather of pit road, Coach Phil Horton, who is kind of over the Rev Racing company, which races in ARCA, but he was the first one to start bringing in the true athletes into the sport. Joshua got in contact with him because of a guy that we knew from Jacksonville, Florida, who pits the 51, who works for Gibbs right now, Jerry and Davis. Both of them went to the same barber. He had introduced my brother into Phil. Phil told Josh to come on a tour. At that time, I was just cut from Philly. I was at home. I was down the press bat, and he had told me just to come. So I came. Coach Phil Horton said, "Yeah, you can come too. When you finally want to grow up and stop chasing the pigskin around." So I kind of brushed it off. I should have came that next month, but I brushed it off and I took my chances again in football. I went to play for the Michigan Panthers. I had a tremendous season. I dominated, but I hadn't made a deal with myself. Was by September 1st was the next time me and Joshua was supposed to report to Charlotte, North Carolina, to begin the program at Rev Racing. So I said, if I don't get a call before then, that I'm done. That my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ had blessed me with another opportunity, with another walk of life, and this was a great thing. So I ended up coming September 1st, and September 1st, that was when all of the phone calls started. And then I was like, no, I'm done. And my agent at the time, he just couldn't understand why I was willing to walk away from the possibility of getting back in the league, having a chance to make millions and fulfill my dream and all this other crazy stuff. And at that particular moment, I was like, man, listen, I'm here inside of NASCAR. I'm going to be fully committed. The same way how I was fully committed when I was at Iowa State. And then I end up accomplishing all those wonderful things. If I put that same focus into NASCAR, that hopefully I can get similar results. Well, I fast forward to about 3 or 4 months. Coach Horton sent me over here to Coach Scott because he knew that I was ready to be on Cup. And I came over here. Within 3 months, I was jumping off of the wall, pitting the 38, jacking, which I sucked at. I just suck at it.
Why?
It's as simple as that.
Why did you suck at jacking? what is it about it? Because seriously, I think there's nuances here that people might not understand. Go ahead.
Well, jacking a race car takes a lot of patience, and a lot of smoothness. I'm smooth, but not when it comes to the whole team necessarily depending on you, or I just wasn't good at it. And
you got to be fearless too. I mean,
but I was really, really good at hanging tires. And I was really good at setting tires. So they moved me back to carrying, and I had to be a backup for half of this year, and then I finally got my chance to be full-time on the car with my rear changer Travis, because me and Travis started off the year as backups on the 60 car. That was running half of, not even half the time. The 60 ran 4 or 5 times this year? Not even that?
Daytona, it was a handful.
Yeah,
sure.
So once the 17 didn't make the playoffs, that was when Coach Scott decided to make the change, and we have just been chugging along ever since. But getting onto a house car is a very, very big deal inside of NASCAR, because you have your customer cars and you have your house cars. Your house cars are particular. Those are like the best cars inside of this, the entire sport, right? For us, that's the 6 and the 17. Well, coming into the sport, I didn't know that there was so much I had to learn. Last year, I had seen success very early, getting out to pit the 38 and being able to go out there. And I thought I had it all figured out, even though I still sucked. So I had to take half of this year, and I had to grow as just a man that had kind of helped me grow as a pit crewman more, right? And inside of the sport of football, it's all this pent up aggression, and you know that you can walk and talk a certain way, and inside NASCAR you can't necessarily be like that. There is already chaos going out there on the track, so in the pits it has to be more of kind of smooth. It's like kind of being in. It's kind of like being in like your position meeting room inside of football, but it's all the time, right? Like, and then that was one of the things that I struggled with coming into the sport, and I didn't necessarily know how to do it until this past year. Because you
got to learn it.
Yeah.
You got to learn it like anything else, right? You got to, I mean,
it was kind of like the same thing at Iowa State. If you would have told me my freshman year that I was going to be voted on a captain and all this other crazy stuff at Iowa State, I would have just simply laughed at probably you. But now, coming into NASCAR, I thought that I was a great person, this, and this, but that was in football. Coming into NASCAR is totally different, because because you aren't around 20. I'm sorry, you aren't around 17 to 22-year-olds, hopefully. And NASCAR, you could be around somebody from 20 to the age of 40, 45, 50, right? From your crew chief to your gas man to your behind the wall crew to the sponsors. Like it's so many different walks of life inside of NASCAR that it is very difficult switching over, but it's something that you have to learn very, very quickly if you want to be successful. And another thing is you got to kind of check your ego too, right? Like as in like when you first come over, you were successful at doing this, but you wasn't successful at doing this. You have crew chiefs and you got guys that are engineers and you got drivers that have been doing this since the age of 5. I want to say the crew chief on the 6 McCall was a driver first, then he became a crew chief or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And me and McCall got pretty cool pretty quickly because I was the backup and I had to sit through their meetings during a race day. I had to learn how all those guys walk and talk, and then it was the same thing with Scott Gray's my crew chief now on the 17. Was just that everybody walks and talks differently, and you just got to be willing to not change, but you got to be willing to adapt to it. And coming over, that was just one of the biggest things that I had to adjust to, because this isn't no secret. When I was at Iowa State, I was kind of like that loud, outgoing, fun person. I'm kind of the life of the party. When it goes wrong, I'm the first one to say, "Hey, yo, this, and this." When it goes right, I'm the first one to celebrate. Right, like so. So it's like it was like I had to kind of like learn how to be like that inside of NASCAR now. Right, like
sure.
It's like I kind of found out that I got to be like that during practice. Right, like just like today in practice, we were like a little off and words were said, and then we kind of got right. So yeah, but just coming over and making and actually being able to have this door open was crazy for me. I would have never in a million years, if you would have told me that I would have ended up in NASCAR, that I would have ever took you serious.
Yeah.
Like,
did you know anything about it when you were in college? Did you watch it?
Growing up in Jacksonville, Florida, I always knew of the Daytona 500 because all the fans got to drive through Jacksonville to get to Daytona, right? 95, baby, I-95. But I used to always hear about Jeff Gordon. I remember Jeff Gordon, if I'm not mistaken, Gucci Mane said it in one of his songs or something, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right, yeah.
So, like,
I forget exactly the lyric. I think Nelly did too at one point,
but I didn't ever know that NASCAR was stationed in Charlotte. I thought it was stationed in Daytona. So then when my brother first told me about it, I was like, okay, so you want me to come pick you up from the airport so that we can drive down to Daytona? Like when he was telling me that he was going on his tour, he was like, no, it's here in Charlotte. I was like, bro, are you serious? I was like, the NASCAR Hall of Fame is there, but I don't think that NASCAR is actually in Charlotte. And when I flew here, I was like, oh, all right. All the teams are here.
Yeah. It's all there. Yeah.
Everything's here. So
it's the headquarters of NASCAR in Charlotte, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because
for any fan that visits, Yeah,
because they were one of their headquarters is right across the street from us. So.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. JaQuan Bailey is with us, who is a tire carrier for the number 17 for Chris Buescher, who is a fabulous driver. What have you got to know Chris? I know you've only been with the team for a little portion of the season, but you did win a race with the guy, which I'm sure felt incredible. But what's your impressions of Chris as a competitor and a driver so far? So
funny story is that my whole year being a Devo guy, and then last year on the 38 was that I got to know Chris fairly well because our lockers are like 4 apart from each other.
Okay.
Then on top of that, me and him work out with the strength coach. Our times kind of overlap at times, so I had kind of already knew Chris fairly well, and then I didn't know who Chris was. Like my first week here, like actually at Roush was like sometime last year. I think it was in March or April.
You had no idea who he was?
No, because we were sitting inside of our kitchen just eating and talking, and then he was there to ask me like about sports and stuff, and like he was up there saying about how he had never played like football or something, if I'm not mistaken, and then he was just picking my brain, and we was laughing about it. And I had no idea who he was because this was like my first day over here. And I was like, yeah, who is he? And then like they was like, that's Chris Buescher. And I'm like, who is that? It was like, he drives a 17 here. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's awesome, yeah.
And then
well, you know what? That doesn't surprise me because Chris Buescher is as everyday and as cool of a guy that you'll ever meet in your life, right?
He is one of the best humans I've probably had ever met.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
He's the same guy every day. And it's crazy because he doesn't understand how good of a driver that he probably really is.
He's terrific.
Like people don't understand, like when you're on Chris Buescher's car, you have a chance to win every week easily. Like, and it's like the way he goes about his business and stuff is like he thinks he's just a normal human. Like, he comes in, he lifts, makes a couple jokes. He's probably drinking something. Like, I don't want to say the wrong company because, we have people out there.
Hoist.
Yeah, Hoist. No. Like, as in, like, he may come in drinking like a coffee, and like I don't know which coffee that he's up there drinking. And
we'll just say he's drinking coffee.
Yeah, he's drinking coffee.
There you go.
And it's like he's the same guy every day. Like, and he's just a great person, man. So.
And it's got to make it
easy, yes.
That much more of a motivator to want to do well and get him in victory lane and to keep his career on a great trajectory, which it has been. I love this conversation. Let's keep it going. We got JaQuan Bailey with us, who's the tire carrier for Chris Buescher and the number 17. I'm very curious, actually, about your time in the USFL, and I would love to get into that because that was a step before NASCAR.
Yes.
But we're seeing a lot of this now in the world of football. So we'll do that next right here on Backstretch Banter. We're back here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. It's Backstretch Banter with RFK. We go to Vegas this weekend. Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 6, hoping to get back in victory lane. He'll be driving the King's Hawaiian car. The 17 will be in the gorgeous Castrol Edge paint scheme this weekend, driven by Chris Buescher. And one of the guys on the pit this weekend, JaQuan Bailey, has been our guest. He'll continue to stay with us throughout the entire show, the tire carrier for the number 17. It's been fascinating because this guy certainly has had a interesting career in NASCAR, got his start not that long ago, has found his way through the ranks, is now a member of one of the big teams with the number 17 since Chris Buescher didn't make the playoffs. He got the bump up after starting off the season with the 60. We've talked a lot about that, but he was a defensive end at Iowa State. He was an All-American, all Big 12, and after trying his hand in the NFL, he ended up in the USFL, and we've seen a real commitment to spring football in the last couple of years. We saw the USFL, we saw the Alliance of American Football a while back, we see the XFL in the combination with the USFL, which is now the UFL. Spring football in general, while you were doing it, did it feel like something that was real? Did it feel like something that could actually give you access to where you wanted to go?
I played the fifth.
So no. The answer's no. Was it as so? Okay. The
do
reason
you
I'm
want me to
asking,
be truthful?
Yes, I do, because
truthful?
is it as chaotic as I think it is?
Okay. Do y'all want to know the cutthroat truth?
Did you get paid?
Oh yeah, they had paid me like a pretty penny
I know some
because
leagues
as soon
where
as the
guys
season
were
was
not getting paid, so that's a good first step.
What?
Yeah, and another league that came before the USFL.
Oh yeah. No, I did. Yes,
the Alliance.
I did. Yes.
Oh yeah, man.
Yes.
They weren't paying dudes. My co-host on Full Ride on college football, Rick Neuheisel, he was the coach of the Arizona Hotshots, and by week 8, it was a disaster.
Yeah,
So I was curious how your experience was.
Well, mine's from that point of view. I did really, really well.
Better, yeah, good.
My checks hit every Tuesday,
Good.
or every 2 Tuesdays.
Sure.
I forgot what exactly. I think it was every Tuesday. I had the pleasure of being coached by Coach Fisher, who is one of the great NFL
Jeff
coaches.
Fisher, for those that, Titans.
Jeff Fisher, yes.
Yep.
He's nothing that you think that he is. I would say that too. He's the most laid back, quiet, nonchalant guy. He's never going to yell. Or he just really didn't care and he was there for the check. Either one. My experience with him was great. I had a great defense line coach, Coach Drake. He taught me a lot of things about running a traditional style defense, which isn't a attack at Iowa State, because at Iowa State we run the best defense in the country, the 3-3-5. We stopped all of the high power offenses, the Heisman quarterbacks and stuff. But my playing in the UFL now, We was just in Birmingham because of COVID and all the other crazy stuff, and it was pretty dope because people don't really think that Birmingham, Alabama is a good city, and it is a nice city. They have two areas that we spend a lot of time in. I forgot one of them, but it's
Mountain Brook?
Yeah, I want to say, or either it's the one that has what's Perry's. It has a Perry's steakhouse there. Like Perry's.
Probably Mountain Brook. And I'll tell you what, you're right, because it is absolutely, that city's awesome.
Yes. And
it's not a bad place to be sequestered.
Yes. And it was crazy because they had waterfalls for all the people that love Mother Nature. They had the nightlife. They had the shopping life. They had if you just wanted to go out to golf or do anything, they had everything in there. My teammates, my position room made it amazing because all of us guys love to go out to eat. We love to go do fun things. Atlanta was an hour 30 away, so we could shoot to Atlanta on our day off and come back, and then we were fine. So I had an amazing time outside of football. Now in the game of football, I thought it was horrible.
Really?
I say horrible because, and I'm probably stepping on people's toes, and I'm probably saying more than I should, but what they did was they gave guys that wasn't necessarily good in football contracts that were more than the guys that actually were good in football. Because when I first got there, they tried me, right? Like, and I say that humbly, was that they were paying guys that they thought that could make a great story for whatever documentary that they had, which their job was to try to sell it so that more people can watch it, so that the more revenue could
but the product would sell it if it's a good product.
Yes.
Is my thought.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely. Especially with me having four sisters, and two of them are entrepreneurs, and they have wonderful careers at their own businesses.
Sure.
So it's like, it was kind of like a clown show half of the season. And then it was like the other half was like, all right, we're going to try to really play football. Well, this ain't no shade being thrown, but we had guys that wasn't good at football that were getting paid more than the guys that was good at football. And then we played with, I think, like 3 or 4 different quarterbacks that I'm like, bro, y'all play for what? Who? Like, I'm like, y'all are horrible. But
yeah.
But at the time, I couldn't say it, but now I'm not in football. I don't care about chasing no pigs.
You don't care.
Like,
trust me, it
I'm
won't.
with RFK, baby.
It'll be
you know
fine.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
it'll be fine.
Yeah,
and that's
like,
why I asked, because I think we're going to get to a point where those leagues are actually well run and they're helpful, and they're going to actually give people the opportunities that they seek.
Yes, because
the beginning's a disaster.
Because I had guys on the team that I knew that was better than the guys that were playing, but the guys that were playing in front of them had to play because of the certain contracts. Now, Coach Fish finally got tired of it, and then he finally ended up making changes, and then we were better, but at that time it was too late really in the season. Fast forward to, they called me back, but I was already in NASCAR. I'm like,
stay in here.
The money was good. Like, I was able to go to Cancun. I got to do whatever I wanted to do. It was I was compensated.
You got to play football still, which I'm sure was,
but
play your whole life.
Yeah, I was compensated for it, and I got to be around a great group of guys that had made it really, really fun. I look forward to after every game, because we would go to Chex and go get wings and a Philly cheesesteak or to the other fried chicken spot that was near our hotel. I forgot the name of it. But the football aspect, like me just looking back at it, it was very laughable. But then I seen the growth that it made from year 1 to year 2, which was crazy, to where I was very proud of them. Then I seen the next year, I think when they went in to the XFL, when they combined, or like, what's that last year?
USFL now.
Yeah, so all those guys can combine. Then I still had guys.
UFL.
Yeah. Then I seen all the guys that I played with out there balling, and they were doing their things, and they were having so much fun, yada yada. And I think that they can be better off as if those guys that are in that league really get a true shot at the NFL, which that happened this past season. All of my guys that I played with got shots back in the NFL. Shout out to all those guys. I was super, super happy for them. And it honestly had me even wondering, should I go back? But then I was like, I could pit for like next 10 years.
Yeah, you got a good life right now.
Man,
You got
I'm very blessed.
Got a good life at RFK. You're moving up the ranks. You
man.
got yourself on the 17 pick crew and all as well.
Yeah, so
let's it's good. It's good life. Let's break. Or you got another thought? Go ahead. Give me another thought before we go to break. Go ahead. My apologies.
Yeah, no, you're all right. It was just that I think that they can do a better job by simply prioritize playing football. By the guys that go into the draft that aren't drafted, and once they get cut, as soon as they're cut, you get them, you bring them into camp, you work them out, you take care of, make sure that those guys are still in shape to where they're still getting better. If those guys need to make a position change or whatever, you're giving them time to get better, and then once the spring comes, and then they can go into a real fall camp, and then actually the quality of football would be so much better. Rather than those guys, you don't know what those guys doing. Those guys can be all smoking, drinking, partying for more than half a year, and then they show up to fall camp and it's like blah. And then us as the fans, we're like watching this, and then we're like, this stuff is horrible. Like, bro, I'm finna turn the TV. Well, if you train those guys up and you keep them in shape, and then you actually invest into your product, right? Then the quality goes up, right? And then your viewers go up, and then your pockets grow. It's just very simple. Like,
you're making it sound simple, and you're right. But for whatever reason, these guys never seemingly.
That's because
they try to get too fancy, too creative, too cute, and it kills their business. JaQuan Bailey. We got more with him next, right here on Backstretch Banter. We're back here, Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. JaQuan Bailey, our guest. He's been fabulous to hang out with today. Do want to say thank you to everybody for helping us put on the show. Thomas Burfield for running things back in Charlotte, and Brandon Lee, Kevin Woods, Alec Walt, our producer in DC, Elijah Burke. We love him. Thank you to everybody for putting it on. JaQuan still with us, the 17 tire carrier who was a star athlete at Iowa State, was the all-time leader in sacks for the Cyclones. How you feeling about your Cyclones? Undefeated, trying to get to the playoff. They're ranked. How you feeling about Matt Campbell right now, sir?
Actually, me and Coach Campbell talked about 2-3 weeks ago when he had them broke the record for the winningest coach, or his 100. It was something like that. Me and him talked briefly, and he gave me my props for helping him build a foundation and actually taking a chance on him coming to Iowa State. I'm very, very proud of him, because about a year ago it looked very, very ugly for those guys when they had the whole situation going on, which was to me was a total clown show, and it was kind of none of his fault to a certain extent, but it wasn't his fault, but it was his problem. And I'm very proud of him building his foundation back and staying loyal to who Campbell is and not cutting any shortcuts. And while he's having staff members leave, he is staying true to who he is and what he believes is right. And I'm just super, super proud of him for it. So, you
came from Jacksonville, Florida to Ames, Iowa.
Whew. Cried
I would imagine, which is completely different culture change, and then some.
Yeah, I cried the first three months.
I bet you did. I bet you're like, what the heck have I done? Why did I come here?
Absolutely.
Everybody goes through that. When it's that far, that's extra. And from a culture standpoint, it's completely different. Whew. Oh gosh, how did you end up there? How do you get from Jacksonville to Ames?
By this coach named Tyson Vite. He's the defense coordinator for Cincinnati now. The Cincinnati Bearcats, the college.
Yeah, sure.
He's an amazing recruiter. Him and Coach Campbell came after me hard once they seen I had decommitted from Florida. I guess I was trending on Twitter, and they was like, hey, let's shoot our shot with him. And they came at me, and they were very humble, and they were very precise, and it was very consistent. They had offered my twin brother, which was kind of icing on the cake because I knew I didn't want to not go to college with him, but I was prepared to. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we had offers from Tennessee together. We had offers from Iowa State together. We had offers from Cincinnati, UNC. So we had offers from everywhere, but it had just came down to the right fit. When it came to the home visits and everything, I had a former high school teammate, 3 of them, that signed to Iowa State. And as soon as Matt Campbell came into it was really when my defense line coach came for the first home visit. My mama fell in just love. Coach Eli Rashid, she had just loved him because he's a great person. He's a great human. He's a stand-up guy. Coach C is going to do the right thing 24/7, and that's why him and Matt Campbell have been tied to him since I don't know when. So when he came, I seen this look at him inside of my mama's eye, better than when other coaches came. And when Coach Campbell came back with Coach White, because she loves Fight, like, oh my gosh, and then she loves Campbell. So I was like, on Saturday, I told her to print out the letter of intent for Tennessee and for Virginia Tech, and she gave me this crazy look, like I just killed her. And the only thing I remember was my brother signed before me, and I took a peek out of the corner of my eye to look at her, and the look that she gave me, because I was supposed to go to Virginia Tech. I had told Coach while I was on my official visit that I was coming there, and I just didn't like Coach Fuentes, man. I just didn't like him. Like, I knew that he wasn't going to last at Virginia Tech, which he didn't, and I knew I liked the Campbell more, and I was like, man, like, if I go there, I respect Coach Wiles, and I love him because I knew he was a great coach, and he had been there for 20-something years. So, and me and Coach Wiles had recruited me for about 3 years in high school. So me and him had grown very, very close. So I was like, do I go with Coach Wiles, and I don't like for Lentes, and I know they're going to suck, or do I go with Campbell, who's this hot new coach coming up? Plus, my mother loves him, my grandfather loves him. I'm like, come on now. So, but
the rest is history.
Yeah,
it worked out beautifully, and he's a great coach. He really is.
Yes.
We're out of time. We could have gone all day. JaQuan, it's good to see you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure hanging out with JaQuan Bailey, tire changer for the 17. It's going to be draped in the beautiful Castrol Edge wrap this weekend. We are done. We'll see you next time on Backstretch Banter. Thanks for listening, everybody.